Not every royal birth came after wedding bells. Some arrived years before the vows, sparking whispers, headlines, and controversy across Europe. A prince whose arrival forced the palace into sudden damage control, a princess who spent years in limbo until her parents finally married, and then an heir whose timing threatened to shake the line of succession itself. These weren't quiet family matters. They were scandals that rewrote royal history. So which princesses and princes were born before their parents' marriage? And what drama did their arrival ignite? Here are 12 royals who came into the world in scandal before the wedding ever happened. And at number 12, we have Prince Gabriel of Nassau. Gabriel's arrival was unconventional by royal standards. He was born in Geneva in March 2006, several months before his parents Louis and Tessie were married. Prince Louis, third son of the Grand Duke, was just 19 when Gabriel was born. The young prince's birth out of wedlock was a modern first for the Luxembourg royal family and garnered significant public interest. Louis and Tessie did go on to marry September 2006 when Gabriel was about 6 months old. By marrying, Louis not only legitimized their son in the eyes of the law, but he also did end up making a personal sacrifice in the matter. He would voluntarily give up his succession rights to marry Tessie, who was a commoner. At the time of Gabriel's birth, he had no title and was known simply as Gabriel de Nassau. According to Wikipedia, on Luxembourg's National Day in June 2009, a special decree by the Grand Duke Henry granted Tessie the title of Princess of Luxembourg and bestowed upon her graciously and upon Gabriel the title of Prince of Nassau with the style of Royal Highness. This decree effectively regularized Gabriel's status within the royal family despite his non-dynastic position. He got lucky. It's important to note that Prince of Nassau is a noble title linked to the Grand Ducal House, but it does not confer succession rights. Still, Gabriel enjoys the rank and privileges of a prince. At number 11, we have Prince Jaime, Duke of Notto. Prince Jaime of two Bourbon Sicilies is known as Duke of Notto. He was born the 26th of June, 1993 in Madrid, Spain, to Prince Pedro, Duke of Calabria, and Sofia. At the time of his birth, her parents were not yet married. Jaime was therefore born out of wedlock, a status that traditionally excluded children from a dynastic succession rights in royal and princely families. Prince Jaime's status changed when his parents married 30th of March 2001 in a civil ceremony that was treated dynastic according to the laws of the House of Bourbon Two Sicilies. This marriage effectively legitimized Jaime, granting him the rights and titles that come with dynastic inclusion. According to Eurohistory, following this union, his grandfather, Infante Carlos, Duke of Calabria, officially recognized Jaime's succession rights and granted him the courtesy title of Prince of Bourbon Two Sicilies, with the style of His Royal Highness. Kind of a big deal. The legitimization reversed what has been a problematic birth status under the ancient 1823 sovereign laws of Naples, which stipulated strict dynastic marriage conditions. Scholars and family insiders noted initial hesitation towards recognizing the union. Jaime's birth was considered outside dynastic norms, but political shifts and acceptance within broader Spanish royal circles helped formalize Jaime's status as a full dynast. Today, Jaime occupies the top spot in the line of succession of the Spanish branch of the Bourbon Two Sicilies, holding the title of Duke of Notto. Next, we have Prince Malte of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Malte's personal story reflects changing social norms in noble families. According to British peers, he was born in 1990 to then Prince Peter of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha and his partner Katharina Kempen 1 year before his parents wed. At the time of Malte's birth, his father Peter had not yet married Malte's mother, which made Malte's initial status that of a child born out of wedlock. However, his parents took steps to regularize the situation. They married in 1991, the year after Malte's birth. This subsequent marriage, according to German family law and the traditions of the House of Saxe-Coburg, legitimized Malte in every practical sense. He became, in the eyes of the family and civil authorities, the legitimate son of the Prince Peter and Princess Katharina of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Following his parents' marriage, Malte was recognized with the title of Prince of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, and the Saxe-Coburg and Gotha family, like many German princely families, still uses its historical titles in social everyday life, even though they no longer actually reign. Malte's name appears in the authoritative genealogies of Queen Victoria's descendants, listed as Prince, with his birth in the year 1990 under his parents' entry. This indicates the family's acceptance of his status. Prince Malte keeps a low profile, as do most members of the mediatized German nobility today. The next 3 births weren't just surprises, they triggered rushed weddings, black dress ceremonies, and headlines that shocked royal Europe. At number 9, we have Zanuska May Maua. She was born 26 May 1990 in London to Marina Victoria Alexander Ogilvy and Paul Julian Maua. a freelance photographer. At the time of her conception and birth, her parents were not married, making Zanowski the first royal-born child in approximately 90 years to be born out of wedlock. The couple did subsequently marry the 2nd of February 1990 under pressure from Marina's family, alleviating the social-emotional crisis that followed the pregnancy. Marina's pregnancy generated significant royal family tension and tabloid attention. Reports suggested that Marina was given an ultimatum: marry or have an abortion, by her parents, leading to the swift black velvet wedding that held just months before her birth. Many interpreted the choice of attire, a black gown and hat, as a pointed act of defiance with the royal context. Raised in a cottage in Windsor Creek Park, Zanowski grew up alongside her royal cousins, notably Princess Eugenie, with whom she attended Montessori school. Though outside the official line of succession, she is routinely reported as being somewhere around the 59th in it, reflecting her close blood ties to the British royal family. Her grandmother, Princess Alexandra, occasionally includes her in royal events, and she's been seen in the Buckingham Palace balcony during the Trooping the Colour and at annual Christmas lunches. Zanowski's story exemplifies how modern royalty and aristocracy are adapting to contemporary norms. Next, we have Benjamin Lascelles. Ben's birth on the 18th of September 1978 occurred prior to the marriage of his parents. At the time of his birth, his father, David Lascelles, and his mother, Margaret, were not yet wed. They married July 1979 when Ben was a toddler. Ben was born out of wedlock, but later was legitimized by the subsequent marriage of his parents. Under traditions governing British nobility and royal succession, this timing had significant implications. According to The Guardian, because he was born before the marriage, Ben has been long deemed ineligible to inherit the earldom of Harewood or to have any claim to the line of succession to the British throne. In the published official line of succession in the late 20th century, Ben was pointedly excluded for being born to unwed parents. This was despite the fact that their parents did later marry, and the children were acknowledged therein after. Following legitimization, Ben Lascelles was granted the courtesy title as Honorable, which is customary for sons of the Viscount and Barons. By the time his father became the Earl of Harewood in 2011, Ben's status as a legitimized son allowed him to be treated socially as an earl's younger son. He is universally referred to with the prefix Hon to denote his noble standing now. Good to know that he's moved up in the world. And number 7, we have Lady Emily Shard. Emily's parents, David Lascelles and Margaret Messenger, were not married at the time of her birth. Emily was born the 23rd of November 1975, and 4 years before her parents wed in 1979. This meant that Emily was born out of wedlock and probably remembers her parents being married, though she was later legitimized by her parents. MarriageRoyalFanfare.blogspot.com reference there. British law, however, maintained that children born before marriage could not inherit peerages or places in the royal successions, regardless of subsequent legitimization. Indeed, when Emily's grandfather, aka the 7th Earl of Harewood, passed away, the earldom bypassed her and went to her younger brother, who was born after the marriage. Following her father's ascension as Earl in 2011, Emily was accorded the courtesy title of Lady, reflecting her status as the Earl's daughter. In 2008, Queen Elizabeth II issued a special approval via the Privy Council for Emily's marriage. By then, Emily and her brother had been legitimized by both the marriage and an official decree, granting them the styles appropriate for the children of a Viscount. According to Royal Musics, today, Lady Emily Shard lives a relatively private life. She married Matthew Shard in 2008 and has 3 children. Despite the early questions around her birth, Lady Emily is recognized as a member of the extended British royal family and carries her noble title with the respect of her lineage. But the next cases weren't just whispers. They changed royal succession itself, rewriting who counted as a prince or princess. Next, we have Prince Manuel of Bavaria. Manuel's birth came at an unusual circumstance for a royal house known for adherence to Catholic traditions. He was born out of wedlock in 1972, a full 5 years before his parents married. At the time of his birth, Prince Leopold and Ursula were not yet husband and wife. Their wedlock took place in October 1977. Initially, this meant Manuel's status was irregular. He was born a commoner despite his royal paternity, and his birth could have been considered morganatic since his mother came from a non-dynastic background. Indeed, Manuel's parents' marriage was originally deemed morganatic by the Wittelsbach family, meaning Manuel's rights as the dynastic prince were always in question. However, the situation evolved, and decades later, in 1999, the marriage of Leopold and Ursula was retroactively recognized as dynastic by the head of the house. This decision effectively legitimized Prince Manuel's status as a full member of the royal house of Bavaria. Following his parents' eventual marriage and the subsequent legitimization, Manuel was formally acknowledged as a Prince of Bavaria. Even before the 1999 dynastic decree, he was commonly called Prince Manuel by courtesy, but the house laws needed adjustment to fully accept him. By the turn of the millennium, Manuel's title was secure. The Almanach de Gotha and other notable registries now include Manuel as a prince. At number 5, we have the Hun, Mark Lascelles. Mark's birth was fraught with royal scandal for a time. He was born while his father, Lord Harewood, was still married to his first wife. George Lascelles' affair with Patricia Tuckwell resulted in Mark's birth in 1964 before his parents were married. In fact, Mark was born nearly 3 years prior to his parents' wedding in 1967. This meant Mark arrived not only out of wedlock, but also during an ongoing royal marriage, a circumstance that drew considerable attention in the 1960s. After George's divorce of his first wife, he married Mark's mother, thereby legitimizing Mark in the eyes of civil law. However, under British succession and nobility traditions, big difference there, being born before marriage permanently disqualified Mark from inheriting his father's earldom or any place in the line of succession to the throne. Indeed, when his father died in 2011, the Harewood title passed over Mark to his elder half-brother and to then Mark's younger half-brother. Mark holds the style of honorable, a courtesy title accorded to the sons of earls. According to The Guardian, after his parents' marriage and a formal legitimization process, Mark was indeed acknowledged as a legitimate son of the Earl of Harewood for social purposes, allowing him the Hon prefix. The courtesy title, while not a substantive peerage, is a legitimate mark of nobility in the UK. Next, we have Princess Lavinia of Yugoslavia. Lavinia was born while her father, Prince Andrej, was still married to his first wife, Princess Christina of Hesse. In other words, Lavinia came into the world out of wedlock, even more scandalously, at the time when her father was in different royal marriage altogether. You could say the word affair. Her princely father's affair with Princess Kira of Leiningen led to her birth in London in 1961. This situation, a child born to a prince and his mistress, was a royal family secret. To avoid public scandal, she was initially registered under her mother's surname Lane and not publicly acknowledged by her father. It was only after Prince Andrej obtained a divorce and marriage from Princess Kira in September 1963 that steps were then taken to integrate her into the family. Notably, Kira and Andrej, after married, adopting Lavinia in 1965 as a legal formality to cement her status as a joint child. Once adopted and acknowledged, Lavinia was granted her rightful place in the dynasty. Her cousin, Crown Prince Alexander, formally recognized Lavinia as Her Royal Highness Princess Lavinia of Yugoslavia. This recognition was crucial. It legitimized her royal status and style despite her irregular start to life. The family's reaction and actions effectively legitimized her, meaning that from the mid-1960s onward, she was treated as a full-fledged princess. And according to royal historian Marlene Koenig, Lavinia has the title of HRH Princess of Yugoslavia. Now for the final 3, and these weren't hidden scandals. They were front-page stories shoved in everyone's faces that forced kings and queens to act and act fast. At number 3, we have Prince Rostislav Georgi Rostislavovic Romanovsky. He, commonly referred to as Rostislav Georgi, was born the 24th of September 2013, the son of Prince Rostislav Romanov and Fortini Georgianti of Athens. And according to Eurohistory, he arrived years before his parents' marriage. The couple entered into a civil ceremony in the United Kingdom October 2019 and later made it official with an Orthodox religious ceremony in Paris September 2021. This timeline confirms that Rostislav Georgi was indeed born out of wedlock, and his birth precedes any formal union of his parents. His father belongs to the Romanov family, specifically the Romanovsky line, a branch traditionally excluded from full dynastic rights due to an early morganatic set of marriages within the family. In fact, his grandfather's marriage in 1928 was not considered equal under imperial family law, meaning that both the father and the son are regarded themselves as non-dynastic in formal terms, even though the Romanov Family Association still recognizes them as extended royalty. The birth of Georgi outside of the marriage adds another layer to the non-dynastic status. Under Russian imperial law, children born out of wedlock were traditionally excluded from membership in the imperial house. Although this marriage and child fall outside of Russia's current jurisdiction, the family's adherence to the symbolic protocol maintains that such circumstances affect dynastic recognition. Nonetheless, his parents' later marriage presumably formalized his social and familiar position. Next, we have Prince Frederick William of Lippe. Prince Frederick William Ernst Victor Alexander Prince Caesar Lippe was born the 7th September 1947. He carries the style of His Sincere Highness Prince Frederick William of Lippe. Talk about a mouthful, and is a claimant to the headship of the former ruling house of Lippe. His father was Prince Ernst August of Lippe, who was a former claimant to the headship of the House of Lippe as well. His mother was Christa von Arnim. He was born out of wedlock in West Germany on the 7th September 1947, which means Prince Frederick William's parents were not married at the time of his birth either. His parents later married the 3rd of March 1948 in Oberkassel in Bonn. Therefore, Frederick William was born approximately 6 months before his parents' wedding, making him a living royal born before his parents' marriage. After the demise of his father in 1990, Prince Frederick William continued to claim the headship of the House of Lippe, despite being born out of wedlock. According to Wikipedia and other sources, his claims remain contested by other Lippe descendants, most notably Prince Armin, who held the headship until 2015, and now by Prince Stefan. He married Andrea Messner September 1991 in Munich, with whom he has 3 daughters. He is also the second cousin of Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, tying him to a broader set of European royal connections. And at number 1, we have Baron Christian Louis de Massy. Christian's birth was at the heart of one of Monaco's early royal scandals. He was born out of wedlock. His mother, Antoinette, was not married to his father at the time. In fact, by the time Christian arrived in 1949, Princess Antoinette had already had 2 children, also outside of marriages. The Grimaldi family initially met these births with some alarm, concerned about the succession and legitimacy. Princess Antoinette and no guests eventually married in December 1951 when Christian was nearly 3 years old and after the birth of all 3 of their children. This marriage legitimized Christian and his sisters under Monegasque law. However, shortly after in 1952, a new constitution in Monaco explicitly placed Prince Rainier's future descendants ahead in the line of successions and largely sidelined Antoinette's line. Furthermore, being born prior to the marriage meant that traditionally Christian and his siblings were not included in the line of succession to the Monegasque throne, and according to royal forms, they were not initially accorded any princely titles by their uncle Rainier. For many years, Christian de Massy had no title at all, being simply known as Christian Nogas, or Christian Grimaldi. It wasn't until much later that he acquired a noble title in Monaco and started using the title Baron de Massy, which has been held by his mother. With this, we end today's video. We'll be back shortly with a new one. Until then, happy watching, and do subscribe to our channel if you still haven't.